Welcome to Nothing But Nets. I'm joined by my boy Big Fan Breezy in the flesh today. I did finally get to
Yeah,
see your face, Breezy.
yeah. I'll be on camera most times because I'll be in motion, man. I'll be doing dad duty. I'll be doing the most on camera,
Oh,
behind camera.
you got kids? I didn't know. How many kids you got?
Yeah, I got two kids. My son
I
be
got,
coming to me with basketball questions, and my daughter be running around. So I'll be moving around, doing dad duty. So that's why my camera be off most times. I'm at work on lunch right now, so I got
are
a little
your
time.
kids? Are they Net fans? Are they Brooklyn Net fans?
Yeah, my son always troll me about being a Knicks fan, but he a Net fan. That's what I got.
All right. I just want to make sure, guys. Let me know. Let me check this. I want to make sure that my chat is working here. Give me 1 second.
All right, I'm gonna put something in the chat right now.
All right, we good. I think I don't know. I had some issues before. I guess we're good now. We're good. All right, cool. I don't know what was that deal with that was. All right. So Breezy, let me ask you a question. Let me get your take on this, right? I don't know where you are on the tank, but I'm not saying they're not Net fans. They are Net fans. But the Net fans who are obsessed with watching us lose every day and obsessed with getting the number one pick, is this what they want to see? Is they want to see Keon Johnson starting and the Nets not being able to compete and getting blown out? Is that what they want to see?
Yeah, I think it's too much of a textbook way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? It's too much of okay, we've seen another team do it this way, so we got to do it that way, the same way they did it. But Gary, what I don't like the most is that on one hand they say it's a generational draft. On the other hand, they saying we got to get a top three pick. So, to my understanding, is if it's a generational draft, then there's more than one good player. Matter of fact, there's more than three good players. You're probably going to get 5 to 10 good players in a generational draft. Out of 30 players, I'm just talking about the first round. In the first round, I imagine that whole lottery got to be good players. Maybe you're going to get the top three or top five great players or excellent players. But to make it seem like, because I said this too, Gary, I said, and I'm asking you now, Gary, what do you, to answer your question, I don't like what them dudes are doing. And I'm only saying that to say because I like the generational draft concept. I think we could get Igor Domin. I think we could get Derek Queen. I mean, I forget his first name, but I think his last name is Queen.
Yeah, I'm
And
from Maryland.
ultimately,
Yeah,
oh, you know who I'm talking about?
yeah. He's baby. Yeah, I don't want to compare him to Joker or
No,
Sengun, but
do it.
yeah, he's that he's cut from that cloth.
Yeah,
He's a little bit
Gary.
undersized. I think he's only 6'8", 6'9". He's a little bit undersized compared to, but he's a good player.
Okay, so but Gary, you see how you get some players like Ace Bailey. You ask him who to go, he say KD. You ask other players who to go, they're gonna say Paul George. These youngins, they've been watching the veterans, and to your point, you can't tell me somebody who got 2, 3 MVPs is not influencing in these next draft classes. So
For
yeah,
sure.
you could call him a baby Joker. You know what I'm saying? Because they definitely gonna want to play like the Joker because it spells winning. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
respect it. But what do you think? What do you think, though, Gary, about not necessarily getting the top three pick? Do you think that we could find talent in maybe the top 10 or top 15?
Look, no, if you draft in the lottery, there's going to be good players out there. It's up to, now. It's easier to do it at 1, right, than it is at 7. But there are good
Yeah.
players to be drafted at 7. We go through the draft all the time, and there are good
Hmm.
players taken at 7, 12, 20. Like it happens all the time. This
Yep.
is why you pay a GM millions of dollars, right? Like if me and you speculate and get things wrong, oh well, like we're fans, like whatever. We're not
Yeah.
paid millions of dollars to do this. Sean Marks is. Sean Marks needs
Right.
to get it right. Right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm not a Sean Marks fan. Sean Marks wanted to trade the pick. Kevin Durant made him take Cam Thomas. Where would
Mm,
we be? How awful would this be right now without Cam Thomas? Like if there was
terrible.
if Cam Thomas if that pick was traded for a Royce O'Neal type player, a
Hmm.
veteran role player, how
Mm.
bad would this be right now?
It would be bad. All of those guys that want us to take, they would be fucking happier than a kid in a candy store. You know what I'm saying? But to your point, Cam Thomas is a 27th pick. I remember us trading a first round pick for Royce O'Neal. Now I don't remember exactly what that pick was and what happened with that pick, but I do know when we got Royce O'Neal, he was a quality player, and that was more contingent on us competing for a championship, so it made sense. But I'm a fan of not keeping all of these draft picks. I gotta tell you, Gary, 2031, 2030, 2029, and all of that stuff like that. I'm selling those for higher draft capital for next season. In my opinion, based on what I'm hearing on Twitter from watching your podcast, subscribe to this podcast. This is a dope podcast. Is that we want to compete starting next year or the very next season after that. So we don't even need all of these draft picks outside of 2025, maybe 2026. But I don't think the Nets should invest past 2026 with the draft picks. I think they should use it for draft capital and maybe move up in the draft. How you feel, Gary?
I feel both ways about this, right? Like, you want to hear something crazy? When the Knicks traded for Carmelo Anthony in what was that, like 2011?
Yeah,
they gave Denver
like
so many picks. One of those picks, the last pick, ended up being Jamal Murray, which was the second piece to their championship. Like, that's how many picks out the Knicks traded. So, like, we're gonna get the 2031 Knicks pick, right? And that seems like that kid's in 7th grade right now, right?
Right.
But the Knicks are historically a bad franchise. So in 2031, the Knicks are probably going to be bad. So that's probably going to be a good pick. What if you could draft Jamal Murray with that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get, like, I want to speed this up, and this is a business. I need to sell tickets today. I need to compete today. I get it. But I don't mind having the picks of the Knicks. Like, if you told me I'm going to give you the Knicks pick, the Wizards pick, and the Pistons pick 5 years from now, you can almost guarantee those are going to be lottery picks. It's like, all right, like, we got picked. We got picks now. Like, let's compete now, but we got it on the back burner later where we can, like, get more franchise-changing players. We can have more lottery picks. I don't mind having the picks later. But, yeah, if I could, I would trade to try to get another first-round pick in 2026. Like, these, I would agree with you. These are the two drafts that I'm looking at, 25 and 26.
You hear that?
No, I didn't hear that. What is it?
Oh, I hear somebody singing.
We can't hear it. You're good.
Okay, we good. All right, so you want to think about it. So, in your opinion, what about moving up next season for the draft? Do you think we should trade some of those draft picks and possibly get 2 picks in the lottery?
Yeah, I mean, like, let's see where these, because I think Milwaukee and the Knicks picks aren't going to be as high as people think. I think Milwaukee is going to get bounced in the first round, and they're not going to win a ton of games. I think the Knicks are going to get bounced in the second round and not win a ton of games. So those picks aren't going to be as bad as people think. When I look at the East, Boston is clearly 1, in my opinion. Cleveland's clearly 2. And I think when Orlando comes back, they're 3. Like, when Paolo comes back, Orlando is better than the Knicks. They're better than Milwaukee. So I would put all those teams ahead of the Knicks. Plus, the teams in the West are going to have better records than the Knicks and the Bucks. I'm not trying to just shit on the Knicks here. The Knicks and the Bucks. I think they're not as good as people thought. And those picks, they're not going to be lottery picks, but they're going to be better picks. So if I just, like, let's say I combined, let's say the Knicks are picking 21 and Milwaukee's picking 19. If I combine 21 and 19, can I move back into the lottery?
You should be able to. I would think if Sean Marks is, and again, I think, and again, like, I wasn't so much of a fan of Sean Marks neither because I didn't like the Harden trade. But I think he's cleaning up his mess. And, yeah, I would do that. I would take the 21st. Now, granted, we got Noah Clowney with the 21st pick. I'm not saying there ain't no talent in the 20s. We got Cam Thomas, Davon Sharp, and Noah Clowney. And I would consider them quality players. But I'm taking those 2 picks and I'm trying to get in the lottery easily. This is a no-brainer for me, Gary. Like, that's the first thing I'm doing. First order of business, move up in the draft, for real. But let me ask you this. I mean, I gotta kind of jump in the chat because I'm gotta go back to work. But I wanted to ask you this: what do you think about? Because I'm gonna be watching. I can't, you know what I'm saying, be on the panel, but I can watch. What do you think about the other? What do you think about the other rebuild? The Orlando rebuild, the OKC rebuild, and now the Houston Rockets rebuild.
See, the Rockets did this, right, without a top 3 or 4 or 5 pick. They did it with just accumulating good talent, and that's what the Nets can do. Like, I think the Rockets are close. Like, they got some decent veterans when they signed Van Vliet and stuff. Like, I think the Rockets have done this exactly right. And I would look at that as like a blueprint for the Nets, right? They Orlando won the lottery. They got Paolo. You can, even if you have the worst record in the NBA, I can't guarantee you the first pick, right? But Houston didn't get the top pick. They never drafted one, and they've rebuilt. So I would look at that. You look at OKC. I mean, they just done everything right. I mean, they got Shea in a trade. Like, they've just done everything right. But you can rebuild without having a 15-67 season. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can still win games.
Let me ask you this, because I gotta go. I'm rushing. My fault, bro. But
it's all good.
So because you said they did it without high picks, and I say that's contingent on the coach. I contribute a lot of their success to Ime being their head coach. So I wanted you to contrast Ime with Jordi Fernandez and just the whole concept of rebuilding and how much Jordi Fernandez plays a part in that as a coach. Because like you said, they not flooded with all of this talent on Houston, but they making it work. I think they like second and first in the West or something like that. I'm listening now, Gary, but I gotta get back up there.
I appreciate you, Breezy. Appreciate you.
All right, peace, y'all. Peace. Subscribe.
I'm not gonna appreciate you guys. Appreciate Breezy always. I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon too. I can't stay forever. I got a late start on this because I was having some technical issues and waiting for Jonathan and stuff, but I can't go on forever. But it's a really good point. Houston has done this with a great coach, right? If they didn't have they wouldn't be where they are now. Like, they needed a coach that could change the atmosphere, change the culture, and show these guys how to win. The Nets were lucky enough where they hit on the head coach right away. We know that Jordy is the head coach. Like, we don't have to play that game. You know, Houston got lucky too. Boston fired him over some bullshit. Like, I don't really know if that was worth firing over. He had a consensual relationship with a coworker. Maybe you'd be like, hey, cut that out. You have to fire him over it. That seems like a lot. But Boston obviously went on and won a championship, so it didn't hurt him too bad. But Breezy's right. Houston hit on the coach. They got the right hire. They got the hire correct. Brooklyn got the hire correct. So you're going to fast forward and you're going to speed up the rebuild, just like Houston, who didn't get the star player. They didn't get Zion. They didn't get Paolo. They didn't get Cooper Flagg. They didn't get that superstar. They got a bunch of good players through the draft, got a couple of free agents, and hit on the coach. Hitting on the coach is actually the most difficult part. You can get good players in the draft, right? You can sign veteran free agents. You can do those things. The hardest part is hitting on the head coach. The Nets already did the hard part. Now they just need to do the easy part. Just accumulate talent. And Jordy is already showing you he can, whatever you give him, he can turn it into gold. And I'm not saying the Nets are going to make the playoffs or compete. They have the worst roster in the NBA. You look at Detroit, you look at Charlotte, you look at Toronto. Those teams have far more talent on the court than the Nets. The Nets are starting Keon Johnson. I mean, Keon Johnson doesn't play for any of the teams I just named. He's starting for the Nets, and the Nets are still competing. They're competing for one reason. They're competing without Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas is the only high-caliber player on the team. Jordy has maxed out everyone on the roster. He's getting the most out of everyone. He's getting the sum is so far greater than the parts, right? Imagine now what happens when you put talented players with Cam on the Nets. When you put other all-star players, 20-point-per-game scorers on this team around Cam Thomas, everyone's going to get better. And the Nets are going to get – now, to ultimately win a championship, like, can Houston win a championship if Sengun's not a top 10 player in the league? Like, if Sengun kind of maxes out, and this is kind of what he is, just like a borderline all-star player, if that's all he is, can Houston win a championship? I don't know. We're going to find out. But you can see the way that Houston built this wasn't around tanking for one season, getting that one star, getting that Zion, getting that Paulo, getting that Anthony Davis, and saying, that's it. We're all in on tanking to get one guy. It doesn't work, right? Like, you need to build a team. You can get New Orleans. I say this all the time. New Orleans hit twice. They won the lottery twice, and both times they hit. They got the right player. Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson. It didn't work. They never won. Philly hit on the lottery. Everyone was tanking for Ben Simmons. You go back to 2016. I'm not capping. Everyone wanted Ben Simmons. They got Ben Simmons. They never got out of the second round of the playoffs. Orlando, right? Like let's put them. I'm giving you examples of these guys, these generational guys who everyone wanted, who worked out. Anthony Davis is a top 75 player of all time. It worked out. Zion Williamson is one of the most dominant players in the NBA. You knew that he was going to have injury issues when he blew out his shoe with Duke. You knew that injuries could possibly hamper his career. And everyone tanks for him. But what has it gotten them? They haven't won. They're not competing, right? Like now, New Orleans got rid of Anthony Davis because it wasn't working out. Now they're going to get rid of Zion Williamson because it isn't working out. These are guys these are generational talents who play like generational talents, who are undeniably great players when they're on the court. And it didn't work out. Tanking doesn't. The Knicks tanked for Zion Williamson or John Morant. I think they had the worst record, or the second worst record in the NBA in 2018, 2019, the year that they tanked. And they wanted Zion. And they ended up taking RJ Barrett at 3. And look, RJ Barrett's a decent player. He's having a very good season in Toronto. He's not a bad player. But how much did RJ Barrett help you win? Did RJ Barrett change the franchise? Because you had this great draft class, and it was clearly, we all knew it was going to be Zion 1, Ja 2, RJ 3. And the Knicks got the third pick, and they tanked for an entire season, lost every game possible, and ended up with RJ Barrett. Did RJ Barrett take it to the next level? He's not even a bad player. He's a decent player. But what they did do is they hit on free agency. And they got Brunson. And now Brunson is playing like a top 10 or so, whatever player in the league. I don't want to debate that. He's playing like a top 10 player in the league. So tanking doesn't guarantee you that you're going to compete for a title. Getting that player doesn't compete. Like we talk about Wemby. Yeah, Wemby's going to have success right away. And the Spurs are going to get better quickly. You know why? Because they have the right head coach. If they were being coached by Jacques Vaughn right now, it would be a very different San Antonio Spurs team. But San Antonio already had the coach. The Nets already have the coach. We know that Jordy's the guy. I don't think any Net fan in the sound of my voice would debate that Jordy is the guy. Jordy's the one that's going to lead this ship for hopefully as long as he wants to. Hopefully, this is like a Popovich run. He's just here forever, and the Nets are good every year, and the Nets are competing every year, and we have the right coach, and he maximizes all the players. But tanking, losing every game, doesn't guarantee you anything. Statistically, it hasn't even made you a winner. Philly tanked for years. They got Embiid, they got Simmons. They haven't been out of the second round of the playoffs. So I would tap the brakes on the tank. We got some pieces here. We're going to get a good pick in the lottery. BC's a Lakers fan. He says he'll trade JJ for Jordy. Not a shot in hell. And JJ I like, but he's not done a good job. Defensively, his schemes are awful. Defensively, go watch the Lakers. Defensively, their scheme is like have Anthony Davis chase around the ball. It's just not defensively, it's quite poor. The Lakers are a title team, but they got some players. They got Bron, they got AD. They should be better than this. And JJ was one of the guys that I was looking at early. And that's not going over well right now with the Lakers. I thought if JJ was going to get a head coaching job, it should be with a young team like the Nets where he can grow and build with that young team. I didn't think throwing him onto a veteran team who's trying to win now was. Can we talk about Darvin Ham? Darvin Ham got fired for no reason, none at all. He got hired. He got fired for absolutely no reason. He got fired because they lost to Denver. They lost to Denver in the playoffs twice. Once in the Western Conference Finals. So in my opinion, they overachieved with Darvin Ham because that's not a top 2 team in the West. And they got to the Western Conference Finals. So I thought Darvin Ham did a great job. I know what more he could have done. Because that's not a championship team. He got them to the Western Conference Finals. And the next year, they lost to Denver. Okay, Denver's better than you. Like, if the Nets made the playoffs and lost to Boston, would you fire Jordy because you lost to Boston? No, Boston's better than you. Like, we need to get more pieces in here. But link is in the chat. If anyone wants to join me, let me know. Leave it open to everyone. Otherwise, I do have to run. I do have to get going. Not sure what happened to Jonathan. He never no shows me. Not sure. Hope everything's all right with him. But yeah, Darvin overachieved in 2022, 2023. He did. The roster wasn't great. He maxed it out. They got to the Western Conference Finals, and they lost to at that time, Denver was an amazing team. Like, it's just an incredible roster. It's like you weren't going to beat them. And the same thing in 23, 24. Denver's clearly better than you. First Western Conference team to beat Curry in a playoff series. Yeah, I think that's right. That's factually correct. I think that's right, BC. That sounds right. I can't. Yeah. The only other series that he lost in the playoffs was to Toronto, right? I didn't think of that till right now. But I'm going to go live again tomorrow. Hopefully with Jonathan and a bunch of guys. We're going to talk about the trade deadline. We're going to talk about potential trades, different things like that. I'm going to wrap this up for now. If you guys, I got a late start. I was having technical issues, and the chat went down, and I didn't know what was going on. But I'm still interested. Does anyone know why Trendon Watford was not playing at all? He played 0 minutes yesterday, even in the blowout. Is anyone aware of why Watford didn't see the court? The other thing I wanted to touch on was the Nets used this lineup real quickly. Clax, Clowney, Wilson, Schroeder, and Ben. So you look at that front line. You got Clack, Clowney, Ben, and Wilson. That's a lot of size, a lot of height. And that's defensively, that's going to be an issue. Offensively, it's going to be an issue for you, but defensively, it's going to cause a lot of issues. And I wanted to see him use that more. They only used it for a couple of minutes, and then they subbed it out. But Clowney, Ben, and Claxton with Wilson at the 2, I guess. I don't know where you're putting these guys, but Clowney, Ben, and Claxton together. I know offensively it's going to limit you. I know it's going to crowd the paint. But defensively, that is a nightmare for anyone. Like, that's a lot of height, a lot of length. They may not get diced on the boards if those are the guys that you have out there. Plus Wilson, who plays hard, and then Schroeder, obviously, as your ball handler and your scorer. You got 2 ball handlers there in Ben and Schroeder. To go with Wilson, Claxton, and Clowney. You still got to cut. Schroeder can shoot. Clowney can shoot. What do you guys think of Clowney last night? Clowney, 4 for 10 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3. 6'10" guy, hit 4 threes, which is great, but he took no shots in the paint. Thoughts on that? I like Clowney. That's interesting to me. Oh, yeah, and Cleveland, obviously. That's right. Yeah, Cleveland beat him too. Jordy said, if you want to roster, you got to play. Yeah, and you can see that. Zaire's coming back too, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Zaire. Is Trendon Watford out? Breeza, I think Trendon didn't play because that's NC. I like Clowney too. I just don't like him taking all of his shots from 3. He can hit the 3. He did it yesterday. He hit 4 of them. I want him in the paint. Well, I want Clowney to develop into a guy that you can design plays for, that you can kind of run an offense through as a secondary option to Cam. I don't want him just to be standing outside shooting 3s. You know, he can do that, and it's not like I never want him shooting 3s. I want him to shoot a bunch of 3s, but I want him doing other stuff too. And I want him getting more minutes. He played 18 minutes. I want him getting close to 30 minutes. I mean, if we're going to keep this in place, the 2 pieces that you really want are Clowney at the 4 and Cam at the 2. The rest of it we can fill out. I like Day'Ron Sharpe. I think there's something to Day'Ron at the 5 and Clowney at the 4. They can both strap. Look, if I told you guys overnight Andre Drummond could become a 33 or a 34% three-point shooter, right? Like, he's not a great shooter, but you can't just leave him open and let him shoot either. You got to contest. That's one hell of a player, right? Like, if Drummond could stroke the three at a 33%, 34% clip, like, watch out. That changes things. That's what Day'Ron Sharpe can be. Day'Ron Sharpe, statistically, like per minute, rebound percentage, is consistently one of the premier offensive rebounders and overall rebounders in the NBA. That's what he does. He's a rebounder. But he can also shoot a little bit. He can stroke it a little bit. So, like I was saying, if Andre Drummond with a decent three ball, with a respectable three ball, like, that's Day'Ron Sharpe's upside. That's a hell of an upside. You know, I've said this once, and I'm going to keep saying it. Trade Claxton. Claxton has value. You can trade Claxton. People, playoff teams, good teams are going to value what he offers you defensively. And I don't hate Claxton. I'm just saying he's overpaid. You can get someone to take that contract because of what he offers you offensively. Defensively. What Claxton offers you, I'm sorry, not what he offers you offensively. What he offers you defensively, which is block shots, which is rim protection, which is speed and athleticism on the wing, right? He's one as far as a switch defender, as far as a wing defending big, he's one of, if not the best in the league at that. That's really all he offers you. But a good team is going to value that. A team competing is going to value that because there's a spot on the floor for him. So trade Claxton and his $25 million contract. And Day'Ron Sharpe is your starting five. We're moving forward. Sharpe is our 5. Clowney is our 4. Cam's our 2. We'll figure everything else out after that. But that's what we got in place so far. A 5, a 4, and a 2. And I think having Sharpe size and strength with a little bit of ability to shoot with everything Clowney offers you, that's the start of something. We've got something there. And then obviously Cam. So that's what I would look to do. And then you can Sharpe is in his contract year. You're paying Claxton $25 million a year. What do you really think you're going to have to pay Sharpe in free agency? I've asked this question before. Everyone kind of says 8 to 10 million, 8 to 10 million, 8 to 10 million. Okay. I'd rather have Sharpe at 8 to 10 million than Claxton at 25. I'd rather have Sharpe at the same price. If their salary was the same, I would take Sharpe. Now you're telling me Sharpe's going to make a third of what Claxton's going to make? Give me Sharpe. Claxton you can trade. Claxton has value. I'm telling you about Claxton. There are good teams, playoff teams that would value Nick Claxton. Now you're going to have to take on a salary dump in return, and that's fine. Hopefully it's an expiring deal. But there are good teams that would value everything that Nick Claxton offers you. And then you can just play Sharpe. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna wrap this up. I appreciate everyone's job. I gotta run now. It is December 14th, 2024. From Texas to the world. Thank you and God bless.